So, for this week's discussion, I'll be looking into chapter 35, where Jack and Heinrich and Orest have a conversation about the pit of snakes. So, the kind of set up the story in this, Jack is facing the idea of death. He's scared of it, as we know from previous pages. He has manifested himself into the idea that he's scared about death. And Orest, he meets him, of course, Heinrich's friend, and he's training to get in a pit of vipers and mambas for I think it was around 67 days is what they said. And Jack has a hard time dealing with this because he's afraid of that, the idea of that for him. And so he starts questioning through the thing. And I just want to read this. He says on 253, he says, "Tell me this then. What is the negative? What do you think of when you think of the negative?" And Orest says this to him. He says, "Here's what I think. I'm nothing without the snakes. That's the only negative. The negative is if it doesn't come off, or doesn't come off, if the Humane Society doesn't let me in the cage, how can I be the best at what I do if they don't let me do it?" I think this is crazy at the time just to read this, but Orest has come to the conclusion that I am nothing without these snakes. And that's his underlying truth. That he wants to be remembered as the person who sat in this cage with these vipers, with these mambas, and said, you know what? This is my truth. I want to do this to be known as. And Jack is afraid of that, the idea of that for him. But also, he finds the truth that he's really afraid of dying. And that's why he's trying to be in the most comfortable way ever, not stepping out of his own, bubble. He's afraid of dying, so he just sits there. And then he meets the guy that's Heinrich's age, and he's like okay with dying. Jack hasn't come to the conclusion yet of dying. And that's what we see throughout all the book before this. He's finding that truth, and he's taking it very hard. He does not like it. And I think there's another truth through this as well that even us as humans need to be aware of course. This is a more what I would consider a duh moment. But everyone has to die one way or another. On page 255, I think this is kind of a funny little underlining as well. It says, "That's my argument exactly. Fang, snake bite, 50,000 people a year die of snake bite." It was on television last night. Jack says that to Orest, and this is what Orest says to him. Everything was on television last night. I think that's funny, but it's true. We see all throughout the news people dying one way or another every single day. Everyone has to die. And so to kind of conclude with this too, one of the last questions on this is how do these differing and sometimes conflicting views about the supposed truth of something show how the truth is less cut and dry than characters might think? And I think the best way to answer this is the truth at times is complex. That's why we are scared to say it. I think that's really important that we as humans need to understand the truth that one day we are going to die.